Hi everyone. I'm not feeling very well, so sorry if my voice is off. I don't know. And as always, I don't know what I'm going to be talking about. I kind of know what I'm going to be talking about. So, fingers crossed, it's fine. I want to talk about being a muse. And I was just rewatching Daisy Jones and the Six. I don't know if anyone's seen that show. It's really, really good. I think it's loosely based off of the life of Stevie Nicks. I'm not sure about that. So that might be, sorry, there's cars going past and my microphone's in England, so sorry about that. Yeah, I think it's loosely based off of her life, but I'm not 100% sure. It's basically about, like, her and a band and them coming together to create, like, the best band in the 70s at the time. And the things they went through, etc., etc. That's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about being a muse. And I was just watching it while I was eating my dinner, and she said this line, and I don't know, it kind of, like, struck a chord in me. She was like, I don't just want to be someone's muse. I want to be the somebody. And he got me thinking while I was eating my sweet potato about how the idea of a muse has always been, I think it's always had positive connotations. The first thing that comes to mind when I think of a muse is, this is niche, but I don't know if anyone's seen that TikTok that went really viral a while ago, and it was like everyone thinks they want the indie alt girlfriend when what they actually want is the mousy brown hair, no face in any of her photos girlfriend. Very, very niche video to reference, but that is what comes to mind when I think of a man's muse. I'm specifically talking about heterosexual relationships for the context of whoever's listening, because I don't know how, like, muse theory operates in like any other scope, really. I've only really been exposed to it through, like, straight white media, as most things in everything always. But yeah, I mean, I was kind of sold that the idea of a muse was to be so alluring that you inspire someone to do something or to be something or to create, like, that you are so whole and complete in yourself that you give someone like more drive or more determination. And I think on the surface these things are flattering and they are a compliment to someone's character. You know, we've all got someone in our lives that we choose to be around because they make us feel more alive. I have friends like that. I've dated people like that. Have I? I don't know if I have, actually. Maybe scrap the last one. I have friends like that, and I have people in my life like that. But I think the primary concern that I have with the muse is, with the muse comes the suggestion, I guess, of mystery. There's something very woo-woo, right, about the muse, and I don't know what it is, and I don't know if this is just my interpretation based on the media that I've consumed, but to me the muse is to never be fully understood and to be more important in the eye of the beholder than in their own mind. Like, their own mind is only useful for what it can be transcribed into in the mind of someone else, whether that's art, like media, poetry, songwriting, whatever it is, whatever expression the muse incites in someone else, it feels as though the muse is there solely as a think piece, or something to be observed, something to be taken from, right? Like a piece of stimuli, right? And I don't know if this is the intention of men when they decide to coin you their muse. And I don't know if... because I think that innately this is what men do, isn't it? They kind of take from you as a woman. That is typically my experience with men romantically, is like they kind of observe you, and once they think they know, they're like, yeah, all right, good enough for me. And then they kind of slowly start incorporating parts of you into them, which is weird to me. And it's different from natural symbiosis, you know, where two people gradually move together. It's different to that. Like, you know, you naturally pick up someone's slang, or you naturally gravitate towards someone's, I don't know, stylistic choices, or you share music or media, whatever it is. But this is different. This is more like two-dimensional, it feels like sometimes. And again, not men, but again, this feels cat and mousey, right? Like, you are the prey, they are the predator, and they can take what they want from you. And I understand that throughout history, this was the way. And I also understand that men themselves have been sold that that is the way, and that is a confusing thing to have to relearn and re-navigate now, in the era that we're in now. The same way that it's confusing for women to have to relearn and re-navigate how to not put being beautiful at the centre of everything, or not being desirable at the centre of everything, or, you know, it's like a two-way street, right? Men are having difficulties navigating how to not objectify women, and women are having difficulties navigating how to not objectify themselves for men. Where my feelings around the whole muse thing come in is, actually, I read a Substack post not that long ago, actually. I'll see if I can... Oh, I say this, I'm going to do this every time. I'm not going to do it. Go on Substack and type in... Oh, I can't remember what it's called. It's like the muse versus the fucking dark feminine, or like some kind of archetype of woman. Dark feminine, or the seductress, or the fucking... one of those like internet buzzwords that is really popular right now. You should be able to find it. It was really interesting. And it was basically saying that the reason the muse is safer to a man is because... I wish I knew the word. It was like... I feel like it wasn't dark feminine. It was like... Or like... It wasn't like siren, or... I can't remember what the word was. We'll go with dark feminine for this video, because it's the only thing that's coming to mind. I think it's the closest thing to what... Oh, it was the femme fatale. Yeah, the difference between the muse and the femme fatale is that the femme fatale writes her own narrative, and the muse has hers written for her. And the muses is interpreted by other people. So obviously it's initially interpreted by boyfriend, or director, or creepy weird photographer, whatever it is. And then from there, from that interpretation, so I'm trying to think about this like in like a, I don't know how they would explain it in uni, but like in terms of primary media, the primary media for a femme fatale is completely personal, right? It's a personal account. Whereas the primary media for a muse is a second-hand account. It's an account of an account. It's the man observing what she is doing, and that is the primary account. So there is no muse account, personal account, or what she is observing, thinking, feeling, whatever. It's all interpretation. Why is that relevant, you may ask? Because then it may mean that one interpretation is incorrect. Everyone knows what it's like to feel feelings for someone and just get everything completely wrong. You know, I think when you have emotional ties to someone, you kind of are in a position of projection a lot of the time. Especially with the muse is often put on a pedestal. Actually, I would say that's probably the main characteristic of a muse, is that she is put on a pedestal. So with that obviously comes projection. So you could infer from that when you're viewing media created by the person observing the muse, that the media that is created is actually more of a projection of what they think rather than what the muse thinks. You know? It's about how they think about things and their account of what they are observing. Whereas with the femme fatale, it is a first-hand personal account. And I think the core difference here that makes maybe women these days, and specifically I would say within the last 5 or 10 years, want to gravitate more towards the femme fatale over the muse, is the whole control of narrative thing. Because I think when someone makes an account of you, there is inevitably going to be a lot that they don't understand. There's going to be things that they miss, or inaccurate interpretations, or especially if it's like picture-based media, film, video. You know, you might be the best model in the world, but you weren't in charge of how that photo was taken, or the lighting that was used, or, you know, whatever. And I think this is why oh my god, I'm so sorry. This is why I think a lot of women these days are leaning more towards the femme fatale, because it's about kind of self-autonomy and reclaiming ownership and understanding that the ability to produce something was for so long for men. And even if the woman was the core of it, I mean, you can look at every media outlet ever, whether it's news or art or music or cinema or porn even, like that's a huge one. Women are always the star. Oh my god, I dropped my phone. Sorry about that, guys. Women are always the star, but they're never the credited one, you know, like, and I would just, sorry, I had a bit of a stammer there. I would just like to add that this doesn't mean that the man that is taking this content isn't talented. That's not to say that, you know, like, I'm trying to think of an example. I don't know. There's a lot of examples I can think of, but I'm trying to think of one that would make it really relevant right now, but nothing's coming to me. It's not to say that, you know, the director of a film is not talented in his ideas to be able to execute that media the way that he did, but the media would not be received the same way had the muse not been in it. You know, we see this often with women throughout media, specifically muse-like women. They become idealized, right? I wouldn't necessarily say idolized. I would say it's more idealized. It's the idea of what we see of them. And I think actually a really good example of this narrative shifting, because I do believe now we're getting to the point where the femme fatale can become her own muse, is Alexa Demie, right? So obviously she was in Euphoria and there was a lot of mystery surrounding her. You know, why is she not landing big roles? How old is she? What is her story? Where does she come from? How has she, you know, got the career that she had? Whatever. There's a lot of buzz around her. And I think for Sam Levinson, whatever, I think that's his name, the guy that produced it, I don't think he went into that with Alexa Demie as his muse. I really, really don't. I think if anything, it was probably leaning more towards Zendaya. And obviously she gives an amazing performance in that show. It's actually, I think, a very, very well thought out show in terms of the issues that it handles. As well as it's obviously shot really well and, you know, it's like a cinematic masterpiece, I would say. However, I'm not here to talk about Euphoria or Zendaya, although I love them both. But if we compare her to Sydney Sweeney, who they play best friends in the show, well, kind of. First season, they play best friends in the show. I think we can see the way that Sydney Sweeney has allowed her career to take off in a way that Alexa Demie has not. Like, but arguably for the girls, right, Alexa Demie is the one that, you know, if you saw both of them, I know who I'm going to first. And I think a large part of this, for me, feels like one of them has been more selective, you know. Sydney Sweeney has an ad campaign out every week. She has controversy every week. She has a movie coming out every week. She's at every next campaign, next premiere, like everything. She's at everything. She's oversaturated, if you will. And Alexa Demie is not. I think she chooses when she makes an appearance. And I think this adds to an air of mystery, but it's self-affirmed mystery. It's her choice, right? It's not projected mystery and projected allure because the person that is taking the content of her doesn't actually know her and they're just projecting the idea of her onto herself. She's choosing these things for herself, as far as I'm aware. Again, that might be my own projection, but the way, that's kind of the way I see it, is that the modern muse is about choice. And I think the modern muse is a lot more for women than for men. I think men are losing the grip that they had on us, which is great for us. Don't know how they feel about it though, so maybe check in, see how they're feeling, because I can imagine that's kind of difficult. But I think for us, as women, as the collective, we kind of coin girls through over the years that feel like people worthy of admiring, regardless of how mysterious they are or not. Because there's girls that I would say are it girls that are so transparent and like so, they're not mysterious, they're not muse-esque in the way that, maybe like a 1980s like Blue Velvet film would try and convey. But to me, they hold just as much allure as someone like Alexa Demie, who no one knows anything about. Because I think the difference is, as women, as observers of other women, because low-key, like, there's no man I've ever thought of and been like, wow, you're a muse. Like, I just don't think men can be a muse. Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know, like, no, I just don't agree. But I might be wrong. But I find that for us, in the modern day, a muse is solely just someone worth watching. That's it. To me, that's it. Doesn't have to be shrouded in mystery or the unknown, and obviously those things that obviously they add to the character appeal. I get it, you know, it's like, ooh, what's going on? But like, to me, Trisha Paytas is a muse, and she will tell you everything. Do you know what I mean? Like, these things to me are changing. The meanings are shifting. My brain's turned off, but that was a short episode for me. So thanks guys for listening. Love you. Goodbye.